Everything's still good, right, Meenu? And I just doing the streaming here.
Yes.
Okay.
Do good.
Very
Yes.
good. Good. I'll get
Same
started.
screen, right? You haven't changed anything.
Okay, good. So Hari Om, everyone. Welcome to our 47th session, and we'll get started. Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandathami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamayah Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamrutatuhe Namaha Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyaha Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. So we are on the third chapter, and I just wanted to do a quick review as to where we are in this chapter. As you know, this third chapter comes as an answer to Arjuna's confused mind as to what he should be really doing. And we saw Arjuna was trying to, get confirmation of what we could call this as a kind of a cowardice. He was trying to run away and was expecting that his noble emotion would be, applauded, and that Krishna was saying, wow, what a great guy you are, and everything. And we see that on the other hand, Krishna is now trying to remind him through various sections, starting with Krishna explaining that, what, Arjuna, I know you really want to run away from the situation, but guess what? Running away is not an option for you. And in many ways, this is also trying to tell us that each one of us have come here into this world for a certain purpose. And we need to know what that purpose is and do the best we can in that purpose. And along with that, we had Krishna explaining to Arjuna that, look around yourself. When you look around, you see that the world is also bound with so much amount of these actions. And, nature, each part of nature is acting with each other. And all this is happening in a form of this yajna spirit. And so, learn from it and understand that at any point in time, a tree cannot say that, I'm going on vacation, I'm not going to give the apples or whatever. The sun cannot go on vacation. So nature is doing what it is supposed to be doing. And so therefore you should also do that. Then we saw the glimpse of a perfect individual in shloka number. I'm pulling out my Gita book here and I'm reading out from that. We saw that, the um, the glimpse of a perfect individual where this individual, is a person who really has no interest in what needs to be done, but yet does everything as if this person has a lot of stake in what he's doing. Naiva tasya krite nartaha na krite neha kaschana na cha asya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartavya pashrayah. This was a shloka which, if you recall, in second chapter, we had a whole section of Sthita Prajna, which also spoke on something similar to this. And so, based on the fact that a perfect individual really is not performing an action for his or her own interest, and yet does it, Krishna then tells Arjuna that, well, that's the way you should also do it. Don't do your duty as a Kshatriya because you are trying to get something out of it, but do it as somebody who is a leader, somebody who is really a leader who is trying to look out for the local sangraha, which is for the sake of community, for the sake of upliftment. Do it for that sake. So that we saw that one. And from there on, he also gave his own example of himself, that is Lord Krishna, saying that he really doesn't have, anything to do, but yet he's doing it. So we saw that. And then we went up till the shloka number 24 during last time. So for today, for reflection time, I thought we can choose 25, 26, and 27. And here, shloka number 25, which is, we discussed that this is a classic example on which we can learn about perfect teamwork. And I'll put the shloka up here. And I would like, to get your thoughts now on how does this shloka really talk about teamwork. What is it about here that really can help us learn on, what is a perfect team and how can a team really work in this regard? Any thoughts here? So this, I have explained also some of the words. And by the way, I wanted to have some feedback from you. Is this useful by putting the word, the actual meaning of the words also? Because if you remember, I just had previously these, the whole meaning of the shloka, but now I'm breaking it down. So wanted to check with you on that.
Yes, I think it's useful, Sunitha.
Good, thank you, Anita. So any thoughts here?
I think when you do actions for the benefit of everyone, selflessly, so that's what, not attachment, without attachment. So that's what is like when you do it selflessly and you do it for the welfare of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what is a team spirit.
That is one part of team spirit. That is true. that addresses. So in a team, many times, we have people coming in with various skills, right? And sometimes not just skills, but also a variety of understanding. Let's say, for example, a simple thing of, let me take, I'm in a temple and somebody asked me to make a garland. And there are 5 people who are assigned to do the garland. And even among those, there would be one person who really knows how to make the garland. and the rest of them, may not necessarily know, or somebody might know really how big the garland has to be and everything. But the other three people may not necessarily know how to make the garland, right? So, and that in this kind of a team, for example, now you have somebody who really knows well, somebody who's learning. So the shloka is, trying to show that at the end of the day, the goal for us is to make a perfect garland for the Lord. But then the person who really knows how to this one should really know how to work with people who does not know how to make the garland, right? And so that is just one very sattvic example I gave here. But if somebody can come up with some other examples also, that would be good, because this is addressing the second part of the shloka. So one part, Meenuji just gave this thing about how when you have to act in the world, when you have to act, you have to do it without attachment, right? So any other examples that one can think of?
Maybe in a team, not taking ownership of what we do and like trying to do together. As you said, like use other people's skills and also so that the project goes forward.
True. That is, so not taking ownership of the fact that, well, I know it kind of thing, right? Yeah, that is true. That is true. Anything else that jumps up here? So I think one...
is it compassionate leadership?
The compassionate leadership is coming up next, Meena.
Okay.
But yes. So in some sense, you're right. This also talks about compassionate leadership. But the whole idea here is, the one thing is the person who really knows things, right, should not show off, right? Should not show Vidwan tatha asaktaha. So here, this what Anita mentioned is a good point. Asaktaha. So the person who is trying to teach the others in a team should do it in such a way that he or she is not showing off not showing off, or not trying to be totally I guess the show off. But basically the idea should be is how can as a team we succeed. So chikir shuhu, wishing success and wishing the loka sangraha, wishing for the sake of the community. So that's the whole idea of doing it. And this is also keeping in mind, sometimes there may be people in the team who may not necessarily may be doing it for the sake of themselves. That's what the saktaha karmani avidvamsaha mean here. So the idea is, again, Krishna is giving that in a team, to make sure that the vidwan is always cognizant of, who he or she is trying to lead. So the next one is this shloka number 26, which is coming up, which is about compassionate leadership. And this is which is na buddhi bedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. So this is another aspect of the same kind of, a leadership trait. But there is a difference here on how he's trying to show here. In a similar kind of a team, again, what happens is sometimes everybody comes into a team with their own philosophy or their own method on how something should be done. Let's take this example of a garland, right? Somebody may think that, well, for every piece of the garland I'm going to make, I have to put 5 flowers together. Somebody may say, though, there should be 4 flowers or 3 flowers or whatever. And people may be stuck into thinking that this is how it should be done. So that is what he's trying to show, that buddhi, na buddhi bedam. Sometimes there'll be confusion in the minds of people. So a person, a leader should be, somebody who can work with different people, but he engages them. Sarva karmani joshayet, sarva karmani, he engages all of them, and does a perfect job while remaining samacharan, or remaining balanced. So any other thoughts on this shloka? So again, a leadership trait, again, something for Arjuna to keep in mind, but also for us to think about, how to act in this world. So then shloka 27 is sort of an important shloka because it brings about the first time in Bhagavad Gita. Here we see the introduction of what is an ego, who is egoistic, what is an ahankar, and how does an ahankar, how does a person who thinks he is this individual person, that's the shloka here, which is prakrutehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartaha iti manyate. So a leader is a person, or a wise person is a person who clearly understands that it is the prakriti or the nature of a person, and it is the nature of the person, prakrutehe, such a person is acting all the time in all situations. But a person who doesn't have this Vedanta knowledge thinks that he is the person who's doing it. Ahankara vimudhatma kartaha iti manyate. So any thoughts on this shloka or discussion? So we saw here, a few, to take it a little lightly, I removed your ego, and it turns out that is what is clogging your reality. Anytime when I think that, I'm the one because of which this work is getting done, then something is wrong, and I need to get myself, see a surgeon who can remove this ego part out of me, right? And this shloka is also, basically trying to show about whenever I think that I did it, then also we need to really seriously think, did I really do this whole thing? Am I the only person because of which something succeeded? And we saw a few things also last time about the fact that we really have to skip the E and let it go, and to recognize that if at any time, if something is not working well for me, then I have to question myself, did I take too much ownership of something? And how many more people were really involved in a particular project to succeed, or any of the things that I'm doing, which was where things worked out. And here we also compared that if I think I'm an ego, an ego in the sense of individuality, then I go through this whole thing on the left-hand side. I think, I'm a victim of circumstances, always blaming, the world for what is happening to me. And I'm always, I'm in competition with the world. I think this whole world is a very scary place to live, and those kind of things. So again, we have to graduate from being this individual I to recognizing that I am actually beyond this. I am that absolute Brahman. I am that higher self, that I have the ability to create my own reality. I'm full of potential. I can live in abundance, and all this aspect here. We discussed this. And then we said that this prakritehe guna sammudhaha. So prakriti is made of all these three gunas, and it is these gunas which actually confuse me or delude me into thinking that I am this ego. So that is, so for the first time, like I said, this shloka introduces the concept of egoism or ego in this area. So then moving on to shloka 28, we had that on the other hand, that is a person who does not think he's the ego, such a person who is a tattvavid. Again, Krishna is addressing Arjuna, so Mahabahu, he's using this term Mahabahu here. He's trying to show how it is at the end of the day, it is nothing but this Prakriti, which is made up of gunas, and the effects of the sattva rajas gunas are these 5 sense organs, my body, my mind, my intellect, all that. That is in a sense acting in this world, which is also nothing but made up of the sattva rajas tamas. So a wise person knows that it is only these gunas which are acting in this world of gunas, but he or she is unaffected by all this. And this is the aspect we said, that such a person is a witness to everything that is happening. You know, it's like we go to a movie and I see the whole movie. You know, I really enjoy the movie and everything. But if I get involved in the movie and I get carried away by the emotions, then, you know, you can see that you're really, you know, you're so affected by the movie. But then if you're able to just stay, you know, see the whole movie and not get affected, but yet still enjoy it, that's the best thing, right? So in a sense, the shloka is also trying to show that this world, everything that is going on, the drama, you know, if I go to a wedding, for example, I see the whole wedding, I enjoy the wedding, and I really, you know, of course, I enjoy the emotions, everything that goes on with the wedding, but I don't become too emotional or anything. So that is the sense of being the witness of even this world. So that's where the shloka is trying to make us understand that this entire world sometimes is nothing but like a movie, like a dream, like a drama, and to enjoy the world, but let not the world enjoy you. You know, like, so that's the idea behind this. So now this brings to, then we saw the shloka number 29, where he is now trying to show that, you know, those deluded by gunas, that is the quality of nature, cannot help but being attached to the functions. Those of imperfect knowledge should not be unsettled by those of perfect knowledge. So this is similar to the shloka Na Buddhi Bedam Janayet, about where he's trying to show that those people who understand that this world is a drama, for example, should not really try to push that knowledge immediately to those people who are enjoying the world. You know, don't go and tell them that, hey, did you know this, what you do is seeing this whole world, it's nothing but maya, it is nothing but illusion, you know. And I'm sure the person will look at the guy who's trying to say that, what are you talking? There must be something wrong with you, right? So he's trying to show about how it is important for us not to really disturb people who are already in it. So again, the question will come is then, how am I really going to make these people understand? You know, we see people sometimes getting so disturbed by everything that is happening. How do I really make them do it, right? How do I make them understand? So Krishna is trying to show that don't try to, you know, unsettle them just like that, but try to do them slowly, because in this world, everything happens very slowly. Like, for example, even in nature, we see, you know, the flowers from a bud stage to a flower. It doesn't happen immediately, right? So even when the wind blows, it's a very soft breeze. Now, suppose it were to, really blow hard, you can imagine the amount of destruction it can happen. So again, he's trying to show that learn from nature how everything happens slowly and not to totally unsettle the minds immediately. And so in things which are of gross nature, when we take so much time, so you can imagine for something as subtle as what this knowledge is, it is not that easy to introduce this kind of knowledge to people. So take your own time. I think that is the import of this shloka here. And that is why he says, do not try to disturb the ignorant person, but do it slowly. Then in shloka number 30, last time we spoke about how the shloka really brings into effect the idea of how then should we act in this world? How should we do our actions in such a way that we can actually achieve good results. And so he's showing the pitfalls of people who act in the world. And from these pitfalls, we can understand how not to fall into those delusion of these things. So the shloka is, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyat dhyatma chetasa nirashihi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jwaraha. Sorry, I didn't have the meanings. I didn't break down the meanings here. Maybe next time I'll remember to do that. So he's trying to show about how the pitfalls for all of us who are trying to achieve a lot of things are three things. Number one, he says nirashihi, which is we tend to always, have a lot of hope. We do things in such a way that we think that this particular action I do is going to lead me into a lot of benefit for myself. So Lord Krishna is trying to show that, okay, don't have that nirashihi, don't try to have too much of, expectations from the future. So then the question can come is, does that mean that I should not have any goals? Should I not have a goal? Should I not have a desire to be successful? So Krishna is saying that is not the case. One should have a goal and one should act towards the goal, putting all our energy. But then doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, you put all your energy, that there are also other factors that need to come into place before one can totally achieve that. But I need to do my best for it. So that is the nirashi component. Then nirmama, another pitfall many times when we are trying to look at this is that nirmama, which is an upasarga or a prefix to mama, means me. So we always look at it as, okay, this I, that I need to do something only for myself. And then the question is, how did this I come about? What led to this individuality? It is basically all the actions that I did in the past that created this ego in me. So, if I did a PhD or something in my past and I became a chemist and I have this position in the company, then I expect that everything should be, that some people should recognize me that I'm a PhD and, give me the respect or whatever, right? So nothing wrong in expectation of it based on what you have done, but there may be one or two people who may not necessarily understand what you have done. And I should not have that attitude of being upset if somebody did not give me the respect because I was a PhD or whatever, right? So that is the nirmama. So this can be taken in every aspect of what I'm trying to do. And then vigata jwaraha, which is where I tend to do too many things, expecting that everything is going to lead me somewhere. And again, this is, focusing on the mental agitations that we have or the multitasking that we do. So those three things he's asking us to avoid. And instead, he's saying that, okay, do everything in such a way that you are doing it for Krishna, Lord Krishna, or basically to God, any higher being. Let the higher being be the boss and do everything with that in mind. So that is the Mai Sarvani Karmani we talked about. Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. Do it as a spiritual endeavor. Adhyatma Chetasa. Adhyatma meaning for, in such a way that I'm doing it for the higher self. Sanyasya, renouncing everything, renouncing my own ego and doing it. So that's all this, what I had mentioned last time. And this is the aspect which I need to stop regrets of the dead past and things and moving ahead. So this brings to our the two shlokas that we touched upon last time, that having given this teaching, the idea could be is, the whole idea is that we want to make sure that we actually trust this teaching. Without a trust, for example, with Bhagavad Gita itself, right? If I did not trust that there is something in it for me, which will help me in today's context, that is a very important thing, then I will not really pay attention to what this is saying, right? So I need to have a sense of reverence and faith in this teaching. So that's the shloka, which is Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto anusuyantaha muchyante tebi karmabhihi. So Lord Krishna is assuring us. He's saying that, so far I have given you all the logical reasons why you will be successful, and the attitude in which you do your actions, which will lead you to becoming successful. So if you follow all this, there is just no question that you will be, you will be successful. But he also says, so that's why he says, Ye me matam. Matam indicating that whatever he has said so far, idam nityam. Constantly, if you practice this, anutishtanti manavaha, all those people. Here, men doesn't mean, manavaha doesn't mean men alone, but it means human beings. And then he says also, shraddhavantaha, those who practice with shraddha, and who are not cavilling. The word cavilling means, who are not thoughtlessly questioning it. Who says that, I don't care about Bhagavad Gita, that has no relevance at all. So, so people who do not question this, but people who may not necessarily, analyze it like the way we are analyzing it, but they have 100% faith. They, if they hear that, well, Bhagavad Gita has been there for a long time and there is something in it which can help, and they just follow it, even such people can actually get to a state where they're free from all actions. So that is what here he's doing here. So ye, those, me matam, my teaching, idam nityam, anutishtanti manavaha, shraddhavantaha, faith, anusuyantaha, without any objection, they are freed from any kind of actions. So again, very beautiful shloka in the sense, here what is important to keep in mind is matam. Matam is the word which means an opinion, and here Krishna is trying to say that our Hinduism, basically Sanatana Dharma, has components in it which has remained unshaken throughout the period. So if you look at, even the 5 great religions of the world, Hinduism is one religion which has never ever broken. Whereas you've had many of these other religions like the religion from, the Roman civilization or the Greek or the Egyptian civilization. Many of these, with the religions that they have tried to preach, there was so much amount of orthodoxy in it that over time it was not, it did not, it was not applicable for the newer generations. So people did not accept it, and pretty soon they just died. And Swami Chinmayananda gives a beautiful example here. He says, the matam, or the opinion, or the religion, if you will, should be such that it should be expandable. There should be components in it which can expand to suit any age. It doesn't matter whether it's the iPhone age. I'm just using iPhone as an age because, sometimes the way technology goes, we just are so into technologies that we think that, the more time and money or effort I spend in working, that is my matam, right? That is my religion. But here, Swami Chimananda gave this beautiful example to show that, the religion should be such that religion is the way which helps people basically handle their own, stress and anxieties and everything. And that is what the role of religion is. It is a kind of a way of life, but a way of life built in with tools to help us in that one. And Hinduism is that, and that is why Krishna is saying that ye me matam idam nityam, those who practice this religion with faith or even with understanding, such a person will be always here free from action. Muchyante tevi karma bhi is trying to show that, any kind of actions that we undertake in this world, it actually, the precursor to the action is nothing but, desires or thoughts, right? Now, where do those desires come? The desires are coming because I'm constantly wanting to be happy. I'm looking for happiness in the outer world. And because I'm looking for happiness in the outer world, I'm constantly getting stressed out because I didn't get something, all that, right? That whole thing which we talked about in second chapter also. So Krishna is reminding that once people accept this, they can be really calm, they can be happy, and they can be completely free of actually desires. That's what we have to interpret here, which is karma bihi. So he's showing that ye me matam idam nityam anutishti manavaha. So that's this teaching. People who constantly practice this, they will achieve that that calmness and happiness. And here I want to give one more piece of information, which is from Viveka Chudamani. The Viveka Chudamani, there is a beautiful definition of what Shraddha means. So many times this word Shraddha, which means faith, we interpret that as kind of blind devotion, right? Somebody told me that I have to do it, I just do it, and then I expect the results to come, right? But in Viveka Chudamani, this word Shraddha is so beautifully explained as, it is one of the, by the way, the qualities, it's a sadhana chatushtaya quality, that is a quality for a fit student who wants to study Vedanta. So the definition is given as Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Avadharana Sa Shraddha Katitha Sadbihi Yaya Vastupa Labhyate. So Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Avadharana Sa Shraddha Katitha Sadbihi Yaya Vastu Upalabhyate. That is, Shraddha is that quality by which one understands that our Shastras have said something, and our Guru has interpreted that, I have chosen the Guru who really understands the Shastras and who have brought this knowledge to me. Once my Guru has said this, I completely trust his or her words, and that is Shraddha. Once I do this, by this alone does the Vastu or reality becomes clear. So that person who has explained this reality to me and I understand it completely, my Shraddha deepens in that person. So that is Shraddha. So that is having full faith in the scriptures and clearly understanding that. So that is Shraddha. And so Krishna says that once a person who has lived such a life with understanding, such a person will also be completely free of any kind of bondage. So that's the idea of ye me matamidam sarvam, matamidam nityam, anutishtanti manavaha, shraddhavanto anusuyantaha, muchyante tebi karmabhihi. So one may call this as also a phalashruti, or the result of a teaching. Such a person is free from any actions. And then he continues on in the next shloka of 32, where he says that, well, what happens if somebody doesn't believe in it? What happens to them? Okay. So he says, ye tve dadapya suyantaha, ye tve dadapya suyantaha, nanu tishtanti me matam, nanu anutishtanti me matam, sarvajnana vimudhanstan, sarvajnana vimudhanstan, vidhi nashtana chetasaha, vidhi nashtana chetasaha. So he's saying that those people who do not believe in this, again, there are so many people who don't really follow Bhagavad Gita, right? So he's trying to say that, ye, those people, too, that is, on the other hand, those who etat abhyasuyantaha. Remember in the previous verse, it was anusuyantaha, that is, who accepted. But here, abhyasuyantaha is people who have an objection to it. And na anutishtanti me matam. They do not follow this teaching. And such a person is literally, he calls him as a vimudha. Mudha itself means the person who is completely confused or deluded, or who is ignorant about this teaching. But vimudha means visheshena mudaha. That means he's totally confused in practically anything and everything such a person does. So sarvajna, in all knowledge. So in all knowledge, he is confused. Tan vidhi nashtan achetasaha. Achetasaha. This person is completely aviveki. Such a person doesn't have the viveka, and such a person is confused about all knowledge. And such a person who does not believe in this is, he calls him as doomed. Such a person is totally doomed, indicating that such a person is, not capable of evolving. That is how one can look at it. So again, just trying to show that how we need to, bring Vedanta into our lives in order to improve from where we are and to really understand the purpose of life. So then this brings to the shloka 33, where probably Arjuna would have, asked this question. Krishna, you've told us so important, how important Vedanta is, and how it is important for us to follow this path if I need to be really happy. So then why is it that people are still not following this? This teaching seems to be so wonderful. I why is it that it's just not possible for people to follow it? It's like sometimes you work hard to send your child to a great university, and then you find that this child is, really is not taking it too seriously and is not really working hard. Instead, he's gotten into some distractions and finds it very difficult to, or not difficult to cope, but he just gets into distractions and he doesn't appreciate this great teaching. So as a true parent, you would ask, what is it this beta? I mean, I'm giving you this best opportunity. Why are you not following it, right? So Arjuna's question is something like that. And he's asking Krishna, Satrisham cheshtate swasyaha. Satrisham cheshtate swasyaha. Prakrite jnanavanapi. Prakrite jnanavanapi. Prakritim yanti bhutani. Prakritim yanti bhutani. Nigraha kim karishyati. Nigraha kim karishyati. So, even though that was not a verbal question from Arjuna about why people are not following it, Krishna still wants to follow the trend of thought and is saying that the reason why people are not following it, and also that in spite of a discipline, why is it that people don't follow? So he says, Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha. Prakritehe jnanavan api. He says that, let alone just normal ignorant people, even in the case of a person, a wise person. Now here, wise person doesn't necessarily mean, a complete jnani or anyone, but a person who even understands Vedanta and the benefits from it. So Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha. Sadrisham, according to, cheshtate, that is behaving, according to swasyaha. Swasyaha, which is one's own prakriti, that is nature, jnanavan api. So a wise person also behaves according to his own nature. Okay. Prakritim yanti bhutani, that is, so, and it's just like all beings follow their own nature. All bhutani, all the people, prakritim, they all follow their nature. So what can nigraha? Nigraha means restraint, or one could look at nigraha meaning that discipline. What can discipline really do? That's the question he's trying to show. So in a sense, he's trying to say that, you can do a lot of discipline, but at the end of the day, each one of us, we are unique, right? Each one of us are unique in the sense, not in terms of just skills or anything, but in terms of the quality of us, the kind of, weaknesses or strengths that we have. Particularly in this case, let's take as the weaknesses, like, for example, if I have a weakness for coffee, okay, as much as I can say that, I'm not going to have coffee tomorrow or something, but the fact that for the past 60 years, I would have had coffee, that vasana kicks in right away and forces me towards going for coffee, correct? So that's what he's trying to say. My nature is that I want to have coffee in the morning. So everybody has something like this, which really makes them unique. And everybody's package of that uniqueness is different. So in such cases, what can really Nigraha actually do? Basically, let's try to understand this also in its thing. So the whole idea here is, we may know things, but when does that knowledge really become a wisdom? That is the idea here. And again, I have to use a beautiful example that Swami Chinmayananda gives. And, he talks about this example of this person, this father, in a household. One day, he gets up in the morning and he gets up with a bad headache. And with this headache, he goes to work. And when he goes to work, he's already so upset that, his headache is bothering him. And when he goes there, his boss gets upset with him. And his team also, they don't really perform well. They've not met the deadlines and everything. So this guy gets even more upset. And his wife notices that, he had, when he went to work, that he was very upset. And she knew when he's coming home, he's going to be really upset. So she makes 100% sure that nothing in the house when he comes home would upset him. So she makes sure that the whole house is cleaned up well. She makes sure that the children are, studying and, they are doing their homework. And even before he comes, she makes sure that she makes the tea for him, everything. So as soon as he comes home, he tries to look around, trying to find some fault and to, vent out his anger on somebody, especially his wife. And he finds that everything is in its place. The children are sweetly studying, nothing wrong there. And his wife, brings the tea for him. And so he takes the tea and he takes a sip. As soon as he takes a sip, he just spits out. He says, "What tea is this? There is no sugar. What kind of tea are you making?" So the wife tells him very sweetly, look, the sugar is there at the bottom. Take the spoon and just stir it. And you will see that the tea is sweet. So he does that. And lo and behold, of course, the tea is sweet now. And he then enjoys it, and he doesn't have he recognizes, and his anger, he cools down. So the whole idea here is trying to show that at the end of the day, we may get a lot of knowledge. So here, this knowledge, the sugar is like this knowledge, and tea is, basically our personality. And we have to really take this knowledge of Vedanta, for example, and make it part of our personality for that knowledge to sink in and for the transformation to take place. Just like, the tea became sweet after mixing the sugar, right? So too, the only way that we can transform ourselves, our nature can be transformed, is by absorbing the knowledge and making it really our knowledge. So, and I'm just, an example of here is, our prakriti and our nature is such that it's very hard to change ourselves. Just like, for example, if you want to make this dog's tail, which is curved, and even if you try to, put the tail in a tube, not that we want to abuse a dog, that's not the purpose, but just as an example is, if you want to make the dog's tail straight by putting it into a tube or something, and even if you let the tube stay for, say, a whole day, there is no way that a dog's tail is going to be straight, right? It will remain curved. So too, the nature of a person cannot really change unless the knowledge that we are trying to gain out of this is really imbibed within us. And this is probably the reason why we also say that, we are attending so many Vedanta classes, or I do so much of pujas, but yet I don't see a transformation in me. Why is that? I think it's because many times we don't take the time to really contemplate upon this knowledge and see how we can make this knowledge as our own. So that's the idea behind this shloka, which Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna, that everybody works according to their own nature. And when such is the case, even what can just discipline by itself do? The knowledge itself needs to percolate and make us perfect. So I just see the time, it is 9:27. I'm sorry. Yeah, 9:27. I was going to do 2 more shlokas on likes and dislikes, but I think we will do it next week. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Hari
Thank
Om.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sunitha, and belated happy birthday.
Oh,
Thank you, Sunitha.
Happy birthday.
Belated happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Birthday.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, we did. I did. Thank you. Thank you for all your wishes. Hari
Bye.
Om. Hari Om. Bye, Usha.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Hari
Hari
Om, Mama.
Om.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om, Mama. Hari Om, Lalita. See you.
Hari Om.
Bye.
Bye.